Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. There's been a lot of talk regarding the Dillian White failed drugs test, specifically from White and his people. I think that there's some sort of skullduggery gone on, that he was kind of set up, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories. I mean, we're living in 2023, there's going to be conspiracy theories. People literally pull anything out of their arse. But I don't believe for a second that this has happened to White. But G-Man was talking about an old card where back in 2015 where there clearly was what I think Hatman called weaponized drug testing. Good phrase. And G-Man was going through this card. It was in, I think it was in, I don't want to say where it was because I'm not actually certain. But a couple of fighters tested positive for steroids or PEDs, and it turned out they were exonerated because the very questionable people who run that particular commission in that part of the world, and the people behind the fighters who were supposed to win, set them up. And then the WBC intervened and said, no, it's all right. You know, there's a huge question mark over these failed tests, and we don't believe that they're genuine tests, because it was the local commission who tested them, and the local commission were, shall we say, perhaps not the most honest of commissions. All right. But it got me thinking about a guy who, a British fighter. Well, I say he's British. He was actually Moroccan, but he was based in Manchester in the UK. He came to the UK when he was, I think he was a little boy or a teenager, young teenager perhaps. His name was Najib Daho, and he fought from the, I think, he turned pro something like 77, I think, and then fought until about 1991. I remember the second half of his career. He was actually, even though his career was very patchy, he had 34 wins with 11 knockouts, 25 defeats, 9 by stoppage, and then 1 draw. So he's one of those guys who fought everyone. He fought on the road. Most of his fights were in Britain. But he was a real character. He was kind of crazy. And probably his most famous fights, he had 2 against Pat Cowdell. And Cowdell was a very, very good technician, very good fighter, who actually went, I think it was the 15-round distance with Salvador Sanchez. So that's how good Cowdell could be. Didn't win a world title. He actually had a second world title fight against Azuma Nelson and got knocked out in a round. I remember watching that and was a bit shocked when Cowdell went over in the first, although we knew how good Nelson potentially was at the time, and he went on to be probably Africa's greatest fighter, or certainly one of them. But Daho actually knocked out Cowdell in their first fight, and then lost, I think, in 9 rounds in a rematch, which was a couple of years later, or maybe a few years later. But he fought other good fighters, like Barry Michael. By the way, he beat Cowdell in the 80s. I think it was 86. Yeah. Actually, he did Cowdell in a round, which was an amazing result. He also fought other champions. Like he won the Central Area title off Kevin Pritchard. And, perhaps you don't know some of these names, but they were very, very good domestic level fighters. And like I say, Daho, along the way, won the British super-featherweight title. And then when he moved up to lightweight, he picked up the Commonwealth belt. And he's very, very good. He lost to people like a couple of big names. He actually he shared a couple of fights with Pat Doherty. He lost, I think, in 9 rounds in a British title eliminator, and then won the rematch. And I think the rematch was for the Commonwealth lightweight title. But anyway, I'm waffling a little bit here. The point is that Daho had this terrific career, but there's a very funny story that kind of sums up his craziness, okay? And it's relating to the sort of skullduggery that commissions and promoters can get up to. And he was saying about, he had a fight in, I always remember this story, he had a fight in France, okay? And they were doing everything they possibly could to unnerve him. So, everything including making noise in the hotel. They gave him a hotel. The hotel was crap, and it was noisy, and there were people beneath his window causing chaos, causing, like, I don't know whether it was a mariachi band, but it might as well have been, you know what I mean? A bit of Mexican flavour in France. But clearly they wanted him to lose. He'd been brought over to lose, all right? Not in Toulouse, but to lose. So there was this... Najib Daho said the funniest thing of all was when there was a knock at his hotel door, and he answered it, and there were a couple of girls there, really good looking girls, and he was like, "Yeah, what do you want?" "Oh, we're here for you." And it turns out that the promoters had hired these two, shall we say, ladies of the night, to wear him out the night before the fight, and then when he, the following day, he'd be too knackered to fight their guy, and of course he'd lose. That was the idea of it. The interviewer said to him, "Well, what did you do?" He said, I'll clean up the language here a little bit. He said, "Well, I banged the two brasses, and then I went out and knocked their guy out the following day." Well, he actually didn't knock him out. He did beat the French guy. He did beat. I think it was late rounder. But I just thought it was really funny. These promoters thinking, "We'll wear him out. We'll sexually drain him." It's like the old thing, the old line about you can't have sex before a fight. Najib Daho was like, "Two of them? Yeah, great. Bring it on, love." one for either end, so to speak. And then the following day he goes out and beats their fighter. I bet there are more boxers who are thinking, why can't promoters try that trick on me? But it's a funny little anecdote that struck me. On a more serious note, of course, it is true that all sorts of skullduggery, I keep using that word, all sorts of naughtiness, all sorts of, illegality, really, and it's certainly immorality, goes on, in commissions that are in, I don't want to say I'm patronising, but in lesser parts, where they're less fussy, parts of the world where they're less fussy. Because don't forget, everyone talks about Dubai and the UAE and how much money they're bringing in. Oh, what a great, wonderful thing it is. Look, it wasn't so long ago, they had Jerome Miller fighting Lucas Brown on one of their cards. They don't care about who's failed a test over there. It's all about money, 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 money. And yeah, some parts of the world, they will still try everything. So you've got to be careful. And I always remember Tyson Fury, when he went to Germany, Dusseldorf, Peter Fury said, they were looking at the spongy canvas, and that they had all these sealed water bottles for Fury. They wouldn't let him touch anything that was over there, no food, no drink over there, because they suspected some sort of, corruption. And they're right to do that. But Najib Daho in those days, he was just a British fighter, or a Moroccan British fighter. No one cared. He didn't have anyone looking out for him. So he just dealt with it in his own way, as you can imagine. Anyway, yeah, it goes on, is what I'm saying. In the case of Dillian Whyte, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything untoward with this. I think he just failed the test because of, he's got form for it, hasn't he? But no, I don't believe there's any corruption there. But yeah, just a little video, a little story, a funny story about Najib Daho. Go and look him up and go and watch some of his fights. He was very, very entertaining, very, very entertaining fighter. Yeah, thanks for your time. You got any comments, leave them below. I appreciate it as always. Like the channel, subscribe to it, like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, bang, bang, come on, you want to. Cheers. Looking forward to your comments. Bye for now.